Further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Nabil Kadir, founder and CEO of the U Company, coaching and training and consultancy firm. Uh, you might have heard about the show Idea Korono Ka, a reality television show where entrepreneurs pitch their ideas to the investors to raise venture capital for their startups. Nabil was the man behind this show. It has committed rupees 510 million on television over 4 seasons so far, and he is one of the people who set foundations of entrepreneurship in this country and gave Pakistan its first startup incubator, Plan 9. Please welcome Mr. Nabil Kadir.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you all hear me? If you can please, yeah, sure. If you can hear me, then I'll begin. If I have a go ahead, I'd begin. Okay, so I'm assuming that no one's talking, so I'm allowed to start. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to this event. TED is a great platform. Today, my talk's going to be around cricket, life, and leadership. So let me take you back. March 23rd, 1947. It was an important day for us. It is on that day that the extraordinary Muhammad Ali Jinnah asked our forefathers to imagine a Pakistan. He taught an entire nation to dream big. Fast forward, 25th, 1992. Another very important day for Pakistan. It is when Pakistan won its first ever Cricket World Cup. It is on this day the extraordinary Imran Khan taught an entire nation to dream big yet again. No matter who you were or where you were in that moment, you were filled with hope and pride. What he did for the young people of that time was that he gave them a picture of a hero. Someone who's able to bring in a hero. It's important. Most of you, I am talking. We didn't have the internet yet. Playing sports and games outside in the garden or on the streets was still the norm. And would you believe we actually had to go meet people in person to talk to them? Can you believe? In it, witnessing the World Cup was an experience. The country was I remember the country was green and white that day. We were alive. Cricket became more than a sport in that one instance that when we won that World Cup. It became a way of life. This is the spirit in which I found my link with the sport and what it could do for me. I saw cricket as the way to realize dreams. Then in 1998, a 15 to 16-year-old me sees an open call for an inter-school cricket tournament on a notice board, I remember, of a school I was visiting for a declamation contest. Forgetting all about that contest, I knew the calling spoke to me, and I knew that I had to convince my school to participate in this tournament. For me, it was a no-brainer. Cricket in my mind, equaled opportunity. It did for most of us at that age. I remember memorizing the number on the flyer by heart and running to the admin to make a call to get my school team registered for the tournament, a team that did not even exist. The next day, I remember, as soon as the first period ended, I shared this dream with a friend who also happened to be the principal's son and the best vice captain in my little mind. I could find at that time for my team that I established. And he's hitting me with reality checks. We don't even have a sports room. We've never played cricket formally. We don't even know how hard ball looks like. You only play cricket with a tennis ball. We don't have equipment. We don't even have a ground, and all of that. I, on the other hand, had already turned this triangular shaped park outside our house. It was a park literally outside our school, into, in my mind, an MCG, and that's the world's largest cricket stadium, if that helps. I had mapped every inch of that ground and had my eyes set on a target. In my mind, we were going to participate and we were going to play. Our school was an up and coming school back then, at that time, and our only focus was academics, which of course should be the focus of any school. In that, being a senior, I take away 11 to 12 more boys to play a sport against all the best in the big schools of the city. These 11 boys also happen to be top performers, by the way, academically. Again, academically is very important to understand here. So naturally, there was going to be resistance. For most parents and families, those boys diverting from academics and moving into playing cricket and spending time training in the park and all that was distraction. That's what they thought. The height of our competitiveness in that school was sports like a sack race or a cycle race, or who gets to the class faster. We, our school and our parents were governed with two elements that were annoying us from within: fear and doubt. I knew in that moment that this is what I need to do for my school, for us and for many like us. I mean, that's something that started building up in me ever since I saw that tournament happening. So in the 1998 tournament, things didn't pan out very well, and they couldn't have. My goal was never really to win, it was to play, but we played. It was for us to break, it was it was to break us out of all our fears and doubts. Let's analyze these two words for a moment. What is fear and doubt? It looks differently to different people. For us, it was literally a fear of injury. In our first match, I remember my team didn't want to leave the pavilion. The players who were coming back from the pitch after getting out were painting a war scene. You won't be able to see anything. These ballers are way too fast. The balls are zooming past us. They'll kill us. So in such a situation, a captain, which supposedly I was, your only job is to motivate them enough to move out of their comfort zone, right? And in my case, it was to convince them to come out of the bathrooms where they were hiding, to run away from from that situation where they had to face those fast ballers. Another form of fear is accepting and facing failure. That too was taken out of us by our principal. This team of 11 to 12 boys were only used to going on the school stage to receive awards. For the first time, they were now called on stage to ask of their failure in front of everyone, from kindergarten to the senior school. Just for reference, important to tell you this, out of the 9 teams that participated in that year, we stood first from the bottom. We stood 9th. In 1998, all of the things went wrong that could possibly go wrong. Murphy's Law came into play, and we too were pretty below average, by the way. What else could you do to bring us down back then? But for us, that team, the journey had just begun. After the 1992 World Cup, I, like many others, read Imran Khan's book. Okay, thank you for unmuting me. The wonders of technology. So I was saying, after the 1992 World Cup, I, like many others, read Imran Khan's book. Because there were no movies to corrupt my thought process on this matter, I lived in his mind through his words. 365 days a year. For many years, I was Imran Khan in the lawn of my garden, in the lawn of my house. I have a rather relatively bigger garden in my house, so that helps. My team was my younger brother and anyone I could find on the street to play. Those 8, 12, 10, 12, 15-year-olds were under my captaincy since 1992. There was also no YouTube, by the way, so all the techniques I had to teach myself were through literal illustrations I saw in the book. It was me and my shadow for years. Hence, in 1998, when supposedly we were failing and losing all those matches, for me, we were just a work in progress. We were improving, we were getting there. On the days my brother and my teams didn't want to play with me, I had literally gone through the labor of who I was doing this for were actually fast at adapting this concept. People like yourselves, you guys can understand it much faster than us. Even when I wanted to make a TV show called Idea Karodon Ka, no channel wanted to back me up. At least no major media group did. I found my believer in a relatively new channel, and so far, well, we've committed 50 crore rupees on national television, something that even game shows can't produce. That's the power of having an idea and executing it well. But all started off from that cricket ground many, many years ago. The show redefined heroes for you and me. It features real struggles, innovations, and failures of real people. Keyword is failure. No scripted nonsense, all real. Why am I sharing this? Each time I look back, I'm able to connect the dots to that one moment that pushed me to participate in that tournament. Yes, I played with a different approach in 98, but after a series of failures and terrible losses, I only found myself more sure and clear than ever before. I understood the failure is meant to give clarity. I understood that for the first time. It's not supposed to make you egoistic or timid, all of those weaker things. It gives you one thing, clarity, gives you focus. It nurtures in you what you must work on. So I ask you, what are you doing today that will be a start to something brave in your life? Important question to ask yourself. The practices for the next year, the next tournament, 99, started off in a different light because no one was expecting us to play, let alone play well. Not even us. When we entered the first match of the tournament after a series of qualifiers, the opponents, all of the teams, they had their guards down. They knew they're not a big threat. They didn't take us seriously, but we did. We won that match. It's safe to say we were more surprised than they were. Let's not forget that this is the same team that celebrated in 1998, only a year ago. We used to celebrate losing with a low margin. That used to be success for us. It's the same team. And that team now, today, at this point in time, in 99, is starting to win. Our practices became more aggressive. We ran with a renewed strength. The same team that could not pad up in practices was now monitoring their stamina. The two fast bowlers on the team sharpened their focus to a precision unmatched. The motivation was now coming from within. It's all coming from within. Of the many things this win gave us, this first win, it gave us a coach, our sports teacher, who became our cheerleader, literally our cheerleader. The energy he brought to the team, contributed massively. As a rule, I would make my boys run at 7 a.m. every morning. And in that, the coach would begin by giving a motivational speech, which might not have been taken very positively every time, considering it was 7 a.m. And most of what he would say would be a repeat. But it was normal. He showed up every single day before all of us. What I'd like to mention about him is his golden whistle. Now, a whistle isn't something linked to cricket, right? And that too in a golden color, stark golden color. But because he was the coach, he had to have a whistle, simple. And that helped us. Simplicity can only be found in people who don't have fear and doubt. He didn't think for a day that we couldn't win. And that's what made him special. Each match after that was adding to our confidence. The underdogs were now the unbeatables. Our opponent, I remember, for the semi-finals, were the strongest team of the city. Strongest team. They proved to be worthy opponents because of the game they brought to the pitch. We had already lost consecutively for an entire tournament before. We were no longer playing with the fear in our minds. We had nothing to lose. Nor were they. But they were definitely not prepared to not win. The experience of failure is what made us win that day. Naturally, it feels like the buildup of this talk is to reveal what happened in the 99 finals. Well, it's not. Yes, we won that tournament. First from the bottom, next year, first from the top. We actually won that tournament. But that's not important. We played our finals against a school that's still considered the giant in terms of producing cricketers. We didn't win the match in that ground that day. We won it in our minds. It's difficult to explain in a few minutes, but on the morning of the finals, we were 12 teenaged, changed men. We weren't boys anymore. We stepped on that ground, on that final, as men, dressed in dress shoes, and played the national anthem as our theme song, as our team song. An indicator of this mindset was that my spinners wanted to bowl in the early overs. And those of you who understand cricket know that spinners usually don't bowl opening overs because they need the ball to be warned off before they can spin it. But that is how determined and confident and sure we were. We were already champions in our mind. We were already leaders. If this was a movie, you would see a slideshow of all those 12 boys and where they are today. Well, one of them is speaking to you right now, and the others are those silent heroes who are keeping this country afloat, some even impacting the world. When I say they, I mean it symbolically for all those who kept their heads down and stayed focused. All those who worked hard and didn't let anything distract them. All those who kept their choices in check and were accountable when they were alone by themselves. All those who evaluated the bad influences in their circles and removed them. All those who stayed away from destructive habits. All those who had faith and nurtured it. Imran Khan didn't play the sport to win a cup. He played that World Cup to build Shaukat Khana. When he raised the World Cup that evening, I remember he raised esteems of an entire nation. Our trophy proved to do the same for our school. It pushed the 4th and 5th graders of that time to potentially lead. I still remember those young boys and girls lining up in front of our class on the 3rd floor just to clap for the teams. We were heroes to them. Today, there are more trophies in the corridors of the Lahore Alma than there is space. Small school. Evaluate your choices. In your case, evaluate the consumption of harmless entertainment and social media. It is a collection of unrealistic scripts with fake lives. They are not heroes, those that are shown on the internet, those that are shown on media. They're the ones who are instilling fear and doubt in your minds. It's the exact opposite. To conclude, I push you and request you to ask yourself the following questions. Who is raising your esteems as young men today? Who is encouraging you to dream big? Most importantly, who is giving you the courage to fail? I thank you very much.